study today something called reducing balance loans, and I will also cover annuities. Let's take an example here. Let us say that you've bought an iPhone for $1,500, right? Now you've taken a loan from the bank or from a lender. You didn't have 1,500 with you. So you've taken a loan, or probably at the ease of calculations, let's make it 2,000. iPhones are anyway $2,000, right? So the principal amount, or your V0, or your principal amount that you lended is $2,000. Now that lender, whosoever has given you this loan, you've agreed to pay that in 10 monthly installments. 10 monthly installments. And you are going to pay monthly to this guy $220. Now, if you see that if you're timesing it by 10, how much are you paying in the end? $2,200. How much did you lend? 2,000. So what is the interest rate? Interest, not the rate, interest amount is 22 minus 2,000, which is $200. So eventually you paid $200 as interest for something that you bought for $2,000. So what is the rate of interest? So shall I say 200 over 2,000 times 100 is what? 10%. Right? Now, let's try the same example. Probably take a different figure because we'll have calculations handy in the book. And try to understand how reducing balance is working. Shall I take this off the board? Now let's say you have, now scenario change, you bought something for $1,000 and you have to pay it back in 4 installments. 4 installments of 257.85. So that's your, let's say, monthly repayment. Alright? So what will happen after the end of first month? So you started with V0 at the start, the 0th month. Your V1 will be 1,000 minus 257.85. Right? This will be 754.65. And then you keep going. And eventually, you will get down to 0. Now, if I have to put this into a recurrence relation, so I would say my recurrence relation has two parts, the V0 and the Vn plus 1. My V0 is what? 1000. And what is Vn plus 1? Some interest rate that I would have agreed upon, the R, times the previous value minus the monthly installment or the installment that I'm playing around with. In the case of iPhone, that would have become V0 equals to, I bought the iPhone for $2,000 and my Vn plus 1 is, we calculated the rate to be 10%, but that's not 10%, that was 10% annually. Not even annually, 10%, yeah, 10% in 10 months basically. So roughly 1% every month, right? So I'll say 1%, which is 0.01 times R, so times Vn minus, I was paying 220. That's how you write your recurrence relations. Any challenge here so far? Yes or no?
No.
All right. Can we now, this from our last session, this is called geometric series and this is the arithmetic series. So you've got a mix of two here. When you're talking about paying back your loans, this is always a minus because eventually your loan will come down to zero, so you have to decrease your payments. But then if this is an investment, then it's a plus, right? That's the only difference. Now, can we quickly do question number 1 on 8b? Question number 1 on 8b, please. So that's the answer. Is this correct?
Yeah.
Who hasn't got this? Ethan, have you got that?
Yeah, got it.
Oh, good. All right. Now, can I have the book, please? So, if I now quickly change the question and ask you to do question number 2, can you try that? Make sure in question number 2 you have something called compounding monthly, right? You need to take care of that.
Is the V0 equals 2000.
V0 is 2000.
Yeah, and then the difference is 339.
Sorry?
And the difference is $339.
Yeah, D is 339.
And then for R, it's 1.005.
Good job. R is
1.005.
1.005. How did we get it? We had 1 plus rate of interest 6 over 100 times P, the compounding period. Yes, Mitchell? Which is 12. So when you solve it, you get 1.005. And then you just plug that back into the formula of Vn plus 1. Ethan, yes? 1.005 times Vn minus 339. Tanu, did you get the answer? Ethan, did you get it? Yes or no? What did you not get it? This bit? This bit?
Yeah.
What does the question say? Is compounding monthly? Yes?
Yeah.
So when you're compounding monthly, your formula for compound interest is what? Your formula for compound interest says Vn equals to capital R times V, capital R raised to the power of n times V0. And what is your capital R? The final rate, basically 1 plus the rate of interest times 100 times the P. P is the compounding period. When you're compounding monthly, that magical number is 12 because there are 12 months in a year. And your rate of interest R is given to be 6. P is 12. And rest is the same. So you solve it, you get this value. If this would have been compounded weekly, then this would have been replaced by 52 because there are 52 weeks in a year. Okay. Now let's take a very, real life example. Let us say you've retired, age is 60 plus whatever, and you had been depositing money in your super, right? And once you retire, let's say you get sum of like 500k in your super, that is something that you're getting cashed out, right? So you're getting that into your bank account, right? So this is now getting deposited into your bank account. All right? Bit of a story there. Now, when you see that amount of money sitting in your bank account, normally what's the tendency, right? We blow it off, right? Sooner rather than later, right? Because that much money, I'll say, okay, I buy a car. Unless you are really finicky about money and very, very, careful in your spending, you get that money, you tend to blow it up, right? More human being tendencies, right? Now, in order to avoid that, a lot of people, what they do is, they approach the bank back. Now, this account where this 500k is going to sit is your everyday savings account, right? Which will just pay you what? A 2% or a 3% annual rate of interest. That's it, nothing more. But then this money remains handy with you. You can go withdraw, right? Do whatever you want to, and whatever the balance left is compounded annually, you'll keep getting your interest, 2-3%. Now, in order to get twofold interest, one is to safeguard your money from yourself so that you don't blow it up, and the second one is to get a bit more higher rate of interest, earn more money off the money that you've got. You approach the bank back and you say, hey, what I do is I give this 500k to you, you lock it up, right, in an investment called annuity. You lock my 500k here. And lock for 10 years. Lock for 10 years. But then so that I can't touch it. So when you go to the banks and you fix your money with them, they tend to give you a lot higher rate of interest because they've got a decent chunk of money from you that they can utilize wherever they want to, right? So in that case, what happens is bank tends to pay you a lot higher rate of interest, and that's the temptation for a lot of people to go and lock it. So the bank says, okay, I'll pay you 7%. Rate of interest, compounded monthly. Alright? So that's a big amount, right? 5%, 3% to 7% is like 5% jump. Now there's a condition that annuity has, is that it tends to pay you back in installments of your choice. In this case, and that depends upon how the compounding is happening, how frequently you need money. So now what you tell bank is that, okay, compound monthly this 7% and start paying me that amount along with some principal as well. So every month for next 10 years, every month for next 10 years, this guy will receive some chunk of money from its own principal plus a higher rate of interest sitting on top. So that installment starts to come back to him as a form of a regular income. So now he's locked his money. He's still receiving some income back from his money. He's earning more, higher rate of interest. And there is no risk to blow that up. Did you get it? So this form of investment is called annuity. Eventually what will happen is, at the end of 10 years, this 500k will be zero because everything will be paid out along with the interest. Right? So for next 10 years, this guy has a regular income with a higher rate of interest. But annuity, when annuity ends, after the period that you've locked your money in, bank has nothing to give to you then after that, because they've paid everything back to you with higher rate of interest. That is called annuity. Is that making sense? The story is making sense? Yes, Ethan? Yeah? It's as simple as that. Now, you can calculate how much this guy will be earning every month. You can calculate that. Right? So, and there's a financial solver in your CAS. There's a financial solver that can help you calculate all of that. Just to give you an idea of how much money he's going to earn how much interest he's going to earn in 10 years, let's quickly plug that into the compound interest formula and see. So his principal, and I need your CAS here, his principal was 500k, which is 500,000. And 1 plus R is what? 7 over 100, compounding monthly, which means 12. And he's locked in for 10 years. So in 10 years, how much compounding will happen? Every year, compounding is happening 12 times. So in 10 years, how much compounding is happening? 120 times. Right or wrong? Raised to the power of 120, not 10. Please. This will be 10 years times the compounding is happening, which is 120. Can you calculate this? Can someone give me this figure? On CAS? This is 120 basically. Danu, you've got your CAS with you?
No, I forgot.
Quick, tell me how much?
1 million, 1 million.
Just read the figures.
1004
1004
830
830
168.
168.
No, 0.68.
0.68. Can you minus 5,000? 5,000?
There's no 1 after the 0 next to it. 6. That's it.
Can you minus and see what is the difference? How much is the interest he's getting in 10 years? Whopping.
504,000.
A double. right? 500, some basically more than what he's invested, right? How much?
504,830. 830.68.
That's the extra he's earned of what he's invested. Right? That's the annuity. But by the end of 10 years, this money is finished. Right? So this is annuity. The annuity investment. Alright, now let's quickly jump onto the book and see what they've given to us. Now, in your financial solver, in your you'll have a financial solver in your CAS. I'm just quickly. So if you go to if you press your menu, financial solver, you just go to menu. If you say add calculator, press menu, financial solver, especially in the CAS and the TI. And I think in the class pad it is tap financial from the main screen and select the compound interest solver by tapping compound interest, and then you've got a financial there, right? And you have a financial solver right popped up.